Hey, Dr. Snow here, Holistic Gastroenterologist. I've been accumulating a list about foods for a while now. I'm always asked about individual foods, and I thought I would just go down the list. And remember this, I'm going to set the criteria. With my system, the GI Cure, the only thing that matters is fiber. If your bowel is roughed up, if you have irritable bowel, Crohn's, colitis, those are all the same condition. The bowel is roughed up and irritated because you don't have the Vaseline-like mucosal lining there. So to clear things up, if you have the mucosal lining covering that tender tissue, you can eat anything you want. So when I talk about, fiber or aspirin or something like that, that only is if you don't have the mucosal lining. Otherwise, you can do anything you want. So I wanted to clarify that up front, that I will comment on each food, but ultimately it comes down to what? Is it cooked? Is it put into a blender? Okay, so if it's a raw fruit, raw vegetables, okay, those are rough. You can't have them. If it's cooked, anything cooked of any kind, heat breaks down fiber. So just remember, fiber is my trip. And if you cook it, there goes the fiber. It's been softened up, or you blend it, it's been chopped up. So I wanted to qualify because I don't want to go over that with every single food. So question here was, can you eat cooked corn? Well, cooking always breaks things down. It makes them softer, but corn is probably the most prime example of, even if you cook the heck out of it, it's going to stay pretty rough. Canned corn is pretty soft, right? Corn on the cob is still kind of rough. Corn chips like Doritos, forget it. The day after the Super Bowl is my busiest day of the year. Everybody's eating those mountains of Doritos. A lot of people don't know they have a bowel problem on the way, and there it is. And they're bleeding from the butt the next day. So how about, can you eat skinned veggies? Oh no, can you eat veggies with skins like potatoes and sweet potato, regular potato if they're steamed? Yeah, if they're steamed, they're gonna make the skin soft. Remember, it's heat. You're cooking it with heat. It's gonna soften it up like a baked potato in the oven. Sometimes if you don't bake it too much, the skin's soft, and if you do too much, it's crunchy and rough. You want to watch out for that. So some of it's the way you cook it too. Can you eat cooked cabbage or celery? Well, yes, anything that's cooked you can have. Celery, the only time I ever had celery cooked is in a soup. And of course it's soft, it's been cooked. Cabbage, people eat it as coleslaw. I don't eat that. I don't know how many other applications of raw cabbage there are, but usually it's cooked, so you can have it. So here's another one. It's a little bit of a curveball here. Well, I'll skip over that one for the moment. Do you need to avoid jalapenos and other spicy foods? Only if you don't have enough mucosal lining. In mucosal lining, it looks like about an inch thick of Vaseline protects the tissue of the stomach and bowel wall. If you have that and you swallow jalapeno and spicy food, they don't have a chance of making direct contact with the stomach and bowel wall, so they don't have any influence on it. If you don't have enough mucosal lining, those spicy things will make contact and irritate the wall. Can you have lemon in your water? Certainly if you don't have a problem with your mucosal lining, but if you have an inflamed bowel, it might irritate it. It's acidic. You want to watch that, and the answer would be do it and see what happens. Skipping over the non-food, we have a list here, non-food questions too. Can you eat toasted sesame seeds, black or red pepper flakes if you have diverticulitis? No. Little seeds can get in the holes. When you have diverticulitis, you have little holes like little pockets. That's what happens, is that something can wander in there and get sort of enclosed in there, and then it starts to rot and then becomes infected. So you want to avoid those types of things, seeds, especially small seeds if you have diverticulitis. What about ibuprofen? No. Again, if you have an inflamed bowel, it's because you don't have enough mucosal lining. Here comes an ibuprofen, which is an irritant, and because there's no protective wall, that can influence the wall. If you have plenty of mucosal lining, you can do it all you want. What about Pepto-Bismol? Pepto-Bismol is a nice over-the-counter medication based on a natural product. That was something from the 1800s. Bismuth is a mineral that coats the stomach wall. So it's about as close as you're going to get to being natural, and it helps a lot of things. It gets people, I tell people, listen, you had a bad night, you were under my treatment, under my care, and you went out and ate 9 slices of pizza and whatever else, having a rough day, chug down some Pepto-Bismol. It'll help a lot. We don't use it every day, but it's the same thing with Miralax. Someone asked here, yeah, we use Miralax all the time. It's, listen, you come to me and say, I'm having a rough time. I'm not going to be able to turn it around in one day. I said, keep that Miralax in your back pocket. Or, there's other ones, Imodium. We use things until I get you to the point where you don't need them. And it just sort of falls off naturally. We don't tell you okay, only take the Imodium for 2 more weeks. I say, use it when you need it, and you'll find out you're just not using it anymore. Organic. So what about turmeric and these anti-inflammatory foods? First of all, if you have an inflamed bowel, there's no anti-inflammatory foods that are going to help you. That's a fallacy. There's anti-inflammatory foods? No, what you got to watch out for is fibrous foods that would irritate your bowel. It's not about the food, inflammatory food. You're not going to, if you can, I don't know what those would be. If you can find an anti-inflammatory food and you're inflamed, eat it, and you'll find out it's not going to do you any good. Turmeric, is a wonderful spice used in a lot of cultures, and it certainly is healthy, but it's promoted as an anti-inflammatory, almost like it was a drug. Forget it. That's just a company who owns, companies that manufacture turmeric capsules. They're promoting it. And it's bullshit. It's a nice herb or spice, but it's not a good anti-inflammatory. Not when you have raging inflammation from, say, Crohn's. Forget it. It's like putting out a fire with a squirt gun. Should you drink herbal tea, like the kind that's beneficial for you, like mint, for your digestion, for mint? Yeah, they can settle the stomach. They don't fix anything. If you got an upset stomach, drink some tea, but at the end of the day, you didn't accomplish anything other than give you a little bit of relief and get rid of some gas. But sure, teas, I don't know of a tea that actually heals anything. Should we juice? With the basic items such as ginger, celery, things that are good for digestion. Again, things that are good for digestion were designed by nature to help settle the stomach. If you ate some, because there wasn't any refrigeration, you ate something, poultry, something that, certainly didn't have dates, expiration dates, but something you stored it in the barn or something too long, and then your stomach would hurt, and there would be teas or things like that. They were like home remedies, but that's all a tea, or where would I go with this? Oh, the juice. If with like ginger, again, those are things that the remedies our ancestors used to calm things down. But with what we're dealing with now, with this destruction, this mucosal lining, a tea is going to give you a little bit of relief. But back then, it would get you through the day or even the hour, and then it'd be gone because there was no real damage. It was just, even if you had food poisoning, which happened a lot back then, it would help you get through the day. It doesn't fix anything. What else we got on this list here? And we're hitting in. It should eat yogurt. Well, yogurt's really good to eat. I like the taste of it. But if you've had antibiotics and you're looking to offset the antibiotic with the yogurt, it's not going to do much for you. The synthetic antibiotics, not penicillin, the synthetic ones kill off a wider spectrum of bacteria, and the yogurt only has a few strains. That was designed by nature back when the only antibiotic was penicillin, and that grew right on our food. So it would offset, the any toxins or bacteria in your food. I mean, my grandmother from Italy, she used to go down to stores and get the day-old bread, 2-day-old bread. Not that she was cheap or didn't have money. She knew what it was about. She knew that she wanted the bread with the penicillin on it, the mold. And she ate a lot of it. She gave it to her family. Her family, my parents' mother, they just thought it was food. They didn't know that, that's penicillin, stay away from that. No, it's penicillin, and the point I want to make is that penicillin will kill off germs, and in the process, it would potentially kill off a couple of your strains of bacteria. The key is a couple. So it just so happened, the way nature set it up, that the strains of bacteria, good bacteria that would be killed off by the penicillin, were the exact ones that are in yogurt. So every day, our ancestors were eating the, fermented things that had maybe only 2 or 3 strains of bacteria, but they were the ones they needed if they ran into some penicillin, and most of them were eating penicillin all day and feeding it the cycle of putting it back in. We don't live like that because the antibiotics we have now are just bombs, synthetic. They're dropping an atom bomb, blows your mucosal line to smithereens, and I have to come here to try to put it back together again. Aloe. Aloe is kind of a double-edged sword. We know it's legendary for healing burns, and that's on the topical use of it on our skin. But internally, it's 50% of the time I prescribe it, people say it felt like it burned them. Yeah, so I'm sure many of you had great experiences with it, but for me, it's a mixed bag. I can't give anybody something that's a mixed bag. I can't predict who's going to affect that way. I suspect it's the people who don't have any mucosal lining at all, and the nature of the aloe can be a little bit aggressive in terms of, in the healing process. It can be a little sharp. So I don't use it. Someone says I'm taking aloe, and I said, if I'm treating you, I want you to stop taking it. What else we have here? Things like, what else we have? Properly combined meals. Okay, here's a comment about that. If you find that combining meals and not eating certain foods with certain foods works for you, then that means you're really screwed up. That means your bowel is really weak. Because you shouldn't have to worry about. Nature doesn't put up signs saying don't eat meat with tomatoes and none of that. Nature doesn't do that. You should be able to put anything in your stomach, any combination. And like I said, if you're doing that and you say, hey, I'm proud of myself, I'm combining my foods, I'm doing okay, I'll tell you, well, you're messed up. Good, do that today, but endeavor to fix it. Because it's just a sign that your digestion is weak. Should you drink raw milk? Yeah, raw milk's really good. If you can get it, you should drink a lot of it. You have to sneak down to the farm with your container and give the farmer $50 or something. And felt like you would buy in drugs or something. Yeah, the concept is it hasn't been pasteurized and homogenized, so pasteurization kills the living bacteria that's in there, right? Living, and homogenizing it just messes with the fats. Remember when I was young, they used to deliver the milk and it had the big cream on top, You never see that anymore. You have to be on a farm. Let's see if I have a few more that are directly on food. Okay, can you eat flax seeds? You can eat them, but if you try to get enough oil to be therapeutic for the oil purpose, because flax has a lot of other things in there, don't count on that. You can't chew on them, and you'd be surprised at how much oil you're chewing on. All of a sudden you say, wow, my mouth is getting really oily, but it's not enough. To use oil therapeutically for inflammatory bowel, you got to be talking like tablespoons. You can't chew that many seeds. Let's see what else we got. Can you starve out bacteria like in Candida? No. You'd die before that if you got really, and I'm exaggerating, sure, but the die off would make you want to die. See, when you try to starve out Candida, you're really talking about not giving it any carbohydrates. And when you restrict your carbohydrates so much, your blood sugar is going to drop so low. And by nature won't let you tolerate that. Nature will make that so unpleasant you'll bite a bark on a tree if you have to, because it's survival. Nature will make it so uncomfortable that you wouldn't be able to go deep enough on minimizing your carbohydrates and sugar to starve out Candida. It just isn't going to happen. And you get die-off from Candida because you're really doing an unnatural thing. You're trying to kill something, you don't need to kill it. You need to adjust your biome. And Candida is supposed to be living in you. It's like letting the weeds take over your lawn. Okay, so that's just more misinformation about Candida than most anything. Can you starve out bacteria? Well, bacteria doesn't work that way. No. It's the yeast. I maybe should have corrected that. It's the yeast. Bacteria can live in a very low environment. Oxygen, what do they call that? Non-aerobic. So, is SIBO even a real thing? I don't know. I don't treat it because I don't believe in it. Somebody who's been diagnosed with it, they'll certainly tell you it's valid. I could go on, I can do a whole show on that, a couple of hours. Well, that's it for today. I mean, there's a few other sporadic ones here. What about sea moss? I don't know anything about it. See if there's one more good one to... what about Ayurveda? We might have to talk about that one today. That's it for today, folks. I'm going to come back. Every time I accumulate some questions, I'm going to come back and answer them real quickly and go down the list. So I've covered most of the good ones today. I'll be back with another list soon. Thank you.